Howdy, y'all, and welcome to Volume 21 of the Songwriter Sessions here at Wilson Valley Mercantile. Joining us will be Wes Perryman. Unfortunately, our host, Ely Buck Davis, couldn't be with us today, but stick around and let's talk to Wes for a little while. Wes, thanks for joining us today, or me today, since the infamous Ely Buck Davis isn't on the interview. But I'll just roll into starting to ask some questions. And knew you as a farmer before I ever knew you as a musician. And
Yeah,
you were actually one of the first people you were the first person to play our tasting room whenever we opened almost 4 years ago now.
that's right. Has it
And
been 4 years? Man,
it
time
has,
flies.
in September, it will be 4 years, as a matter of fact. So glad to have you here with us today, and just want to start the ball off. Tell us about your how you started songwriting and what brought you to that, and tell us all about your influences.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and by the way, thanks for having me here. This is fun. And yeah, I started. I was always kind of into music, as a kid, and then in junior high, I picked up guitar like most every kid does, I guess. At least in the '90s, every kid seemed like did. But just kind of always kind of naturally had the bug and then just always loved the idea of creating my own music and writing songs and stuff. And so I kind of pushed that through high school. Didn't really do too much with it, and then out of high school. I actually went to college for about a month at MCC, and I was going for music production, and decided to come on home and farm. Decided that it was just I was having to take a few too many classes I didn't want to take, and I was just decided I was over that. But anyways, so out of high school, I really got into. My cousin took me to see Pat Green at Margarita Salsa Festival back in the early, like probably 2001 or so, and that was pretty cool. And then went and saw, got into like Robert Earl Keen and all the Texas country stuff of the early 2000s, and Jerry Jeff Walker came along, and then I found Guy Clark and Towns Van Zandt and John
Yeah.
Prine,
Mm-hmm.
and then just kept going further down the rabbit hole. I really, no telling how much money I spent at Hastings and on CDs and stuff back. That's what kids got it. We got it easy now with the Spotify and all that. It's
Yep.
$10 a month. You can listen to anything ever created. It's pretty amazing. But
It, it, it's a way different than having to
yeah.
decide which album you wanted to buy
Yeah,
or.
but me and a
And
couple of my buddies, we were all kind of competitive to see who could find the harder to find stuff. Like Robert O'Keen, like live from Sons of Herman Hall.
mm-hmm.
I was really happy when I found that one. So always just digging and looking for the good stuff. And always looking for something new. And so that's kind of and so that movement, the Texas country movement, and all that, like seeing songwriters, making a living, getting a pretty good following, and I just really got into that early on, and that's kind of what pushed me to really start writing. And I ended up living with a couple of other musicians outside of Moody, and met a ton of great songwriters, and went on the road with a couple of different bands, just being a roadie. A band called Hogleg Ellis out of the Waco area. Fell in with those guys. They were a great kind of southern. Definitely weren't country. They were a rock and roll band, but they were great, man. Russian Steel is the lead singer and songwriter of that band, and he's still one of my favorite songwriters. He's incredible. So I got to meet, a lot of really cool people back in the early 2000s, and I've never been as prolific of a songwriter as I'd like to be. Songs kind of come slow, and I've never had much luck forcing them, or sitting down and like writing every day trying to find something. It's kind of
Yeah.
like a lightning bolt kind of situation. When they hit me, and just try to be in the right place where I can write them down and before I forget them.
Well,
And
or sometimes you're texting back and forth with a friend, and you
yeah,
end up with a song out of a text message chain.
yeah, that was pretty fun. Need to do more of that. We kind of quit doing that after that song. But yeah, that was actually a really fun exercise, actually, because that was just taking, yeah, with Jake. I'm lucky to know. So I met Ely. Gosh, I guess if you've been open for 4 years, it had to be at least 5 years, maybe longer, since I've met Ely.
Yeah.
But
Well, you're actually the one who gave me Ely's phone
yeah,
number. So.
yeah, he's good people, man. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I was playing out at Wahlberg at the German restaurant at a songwriter night, and Ely just happened to show up and heard me. And he reached out, and and he invited me to go play with him at a songwriter thing that he was hosting down in Georgetown.
At
And
Barking
we did,
Armadillo, right?
yeah, Bark, yeah, we did that a handful of times. And then he told me, he's like, yeah, I really like how you know what you're doing, playing along with my tunes. I'm actually cutting a record. Why don't you come out to the studio? And so I was like, yeah, that sounds awesome. I'd love to do that. And so we went out to Jake's place, and that's how I met Jake. And man, Jake is good people and a
Absolutely.
darn good songwriter, darn good musician. And you know, that's what I like to put myself around, people that make me work harder. You know, try to catch up, try to stay
Yep.
up. And he definitely is one of those, man. He keeps me on my toes. But it's been great getting to know Jake and Ely, and Jake's played in my band when I have full band gigs. It's been a lot of fun working with him, and so yeah, I'm just you know, I've kind of fast forwarded over a few years there, but yeah, I've had a lot of cool opportunities, and you know, my buddy John Napier, he got me into a lot of cool places. I've gotten to play down at like Pootie's and Saxon Pub down in Austin, and oh, gosh, there's a lot more. But just those are some great little high points to worth naming. And
Mm-hmm.
so I've had a really fun career without really ever pushing it too hard. Honestly, you know, I've been pretty much ever since I've been gigging. You know, it's been the last 20 years or so. Has been I've been married and raising kids and farming full time. So it
Oh,
gets.
farming's not hard. What are you talking about? That doesn't take hardly any time at all.
But yeah, so it's been really rewarding. It's one of those. My cousin was asking me at Christmas, like if I was still playing, and I was like, yeah, I've slowed down. I play once or twice a month, but I was like, I really think I'm going to hit it hard in my 50s. I think I'll really start
Well, I
pushing
don't think
music.
that's up. Your 50s isn't that far away, is it, Wes?
No, I just turned 43, so it's
Well,
coming on pretty quick.
you're a piece further away than I am from it. I'm about 2 years away from being 50. So
Yeah, man, I tell you, the last few, time just keeps on speeding up, doesn't it? That's
my
one
dad
thing I'm
used to
learning.
tell a story about my great grandmother that when she was 90 or so, they were sitting around talking about how fast time flies, and she said, "Sonny, you ain't even 6 months long no more."
Yeah, yeah,
So
that's the truth.
well, while we're transitioning a little bit here, you had
Hmm.
we had you do a couple of songwriter session videos or still session videos. Get the right
Yeah.
name. Too many random names to talk about,
Hmm.
but so glad you could do those and got some pretty decent videos. Those video guys do a really good job. Spartan Media,
They
and
do. They
of
do a
course
great job.
Jake does the mastering and mixing for me. And
Hmm.
Jake may actually been here to record that one. I don't remember.
He was there.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, we,
Yeah,
we
that was
enjoyed
really
doing those. We
cool.
actually just did the fifth round of them about 2 weeks ago. And, anyways, if you want to talk about that and your experience with that, and of course they're out on our YouTube channel if anybody wants to go see them at Wilson Valley Mercantile on YouTube. But
Yeah, John, that was really cool. I think it's amazing how much effort you're putting into supporting the local musicians. And I've been at this for, like I said, a little over 20 years, and I've seen the local scenes kind of build up, kind of come and go. Like back in 2010 or so, there was a pretty big push in the Temple Belton area. Just quite a few bands and venues and stuff, and then kind of dwindles out. And then I've been seeing like a resurgence of some younger songwriters and stuff coming up, and it's just cool. It's just cool. I mean, without the venues, it's really hard for the artists to
sure.
so to have a supportive venue that really you feel like they got your back a little bit, and want you to succeed, and want you to reach new ears. That's just it means so much to the local artists. So
Well, thank
so
you.
thanks for what you do. And
Sure.
and nowadays, with social media being what it is, video and getting video out there, and that's very important. And so I think it's really cool. I mean, y'all didn't just half-ass that. I don't know if I can say that or not. Sorry, you can bleep me
Uh,
out if you need to.
well,
But
if we have
yeah.
to offend anybody who's watching, I will feel bad for it in a moment, and we'll move on in life. So
Okay. Sorry about that.
I'm not too
But
worried. I'm
anyway,
pretty sure we've had worse than that said on one before. So
okay. But yeah, y'all really did it upright. And yeah, the lighting and the whole scene there, that was really cool. And I got to meet several other musicians on that day too. I like the way you had it kind of everybody kind of lined up back to back, so you kind of got to mingle with all the other artists. So
I
that was
think
a good experience.
I think I've really got to where I enjoy about that maybe more than the actual recording the videos. In fact, the last two times I've kind of phrased it that way to people when I invite them is like, I want y'all to come hang out. I mean, I understand if you got things you got to go do, but hang out, talk to other folks, and see what might come out of it beyond just getting a good music video out of this deal.
Yeah, yeah, it's a
So
good networking
I
experience
like
for sure.
I like listening to the guys talk, and it's just fun.
So what I always tell Ely, it's so cool the way he, like especially during the Christmas the Toys for Tots
Yep.
fundraiser, where it's so cool because most musicians are all busy playing their own gigs. It's hard. It's not very often that you get to like mingle and spend time together and hear each other play and stuff. So
Sure.
that's a really special thing too. That's definitely keeps because that's what I'm all about. I love the community of it and I think it's really important to kind of build that community and keep those
Sure.
connections with all the other artists. It's just to kind of talk it up whoever's listening to you. You tell them about people that your friends and where they're playing at. It helps. If unless you hear it from somebody that you like, you're not likely to go see some other artist because it just feels like it helps when you kind of get that seal of approval by somebody that you do like. So
Sure, absolutely. And I mean, one of the things that has been funny, when we first opened the tasting room, I don't know. I mean, I figured we would have music some, but I didn't think I was not thinking that we were going to be a music venue.
right,
And quickly we became one, and
yeah,
it's been good. And we'll have musicians show up. I'll tell people beforehand that somebody who's never been here or played, and they're like, "Oh, we'll bring our own sound system." Like, you really don't need to. We've got sound covered. And I'm sound man slash bartender slash whatever I've got to be on any given day. And
that's awesome.
thank you. But it's just, and people, they'll walk in like, some venues say they've got a sound system, but it's like a broken mixer that two channels work on, and this and
Yeah,
that. And like, well, we're a little higher end than that,
yeah.
and or we try to be, anyways. I'm not saying that there's not something wrong occasionally, but
There's
usually we
a
can get it fixed.
there's a line in the Towns Van Zandt song "To Live Is to Fly" where he says, "I'll miss the system here. The bottom's low and the treble's clear." And so
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Well, one question that I try and ask everybody that we interview is, from the perspective of a new singer, songwriter, musician, however you want to look at it. What would be your advice to that person starting out?
Yeah, I've wondered here lately if I haven't listened to too much music, if that makes sense. I feel like I'm hypercritical on myself, and some of the songs that people sing along to that I've written that seem just really cheesy 3 chord, simple songs. I was at a middle place where I was able to not think that sounds too much like this song or too much like that song. I struggle the most with worrying that I'm going to sound too much like another song. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
I, I'm not. I don't know if my advice would be don't listen to music because you do glean a lot from. That's how you get your influences and that's how you kind of steer your ship. But I wouldn't. I would work on not being hyper judgmental of yourself and just really try to kind of be open minded and just let whatever's in there come out. Because I think I've been too critical on myself, and that's made my process much harder and slower than it probably would need to be.
I
So I
got you.
don't know if that makes sense. But
I think it makes perfect sense, and
yeah,
that's probably pretty
yeah,
good advice. I mean, we've had everybody from, say anything from, figure out how to pay for the music to figure out,
yeah,
take every gig to, find your own sound,
yeah.
you
I
play
will.
around and sound like somebody else until you figure out what your sound is, and it's just
Yeah,
anything and everything. I mean,
I will
maybe
say for
someday
me
somebody will hear
though.
that, and it'll move them the way they need to be moved.
Yeah. You can't go wrong though with Steve Earle. That's what in the late '90s when I discovered Steve Earle, I bought like a double disc CD of his, and I would just turn that on in my room and crank it up, and I just pick up a guitar and play along with it and try to figure out how to make it sound like the record. I would just sit there and just bang on my guitar until I could get it to start halfway sounding decent with the CD. So
Hmm.
that I'll that was good for me. So I guess if you find something that really moves you, study it and really I think I think there's a way that you can do that, and you're not ripping it off because I mean it's impossible. You're not gonna make up a new chord. You're not gonna come up with like it's all been done. So the biggest thing is just to kind of not overthink that and not try to rip something off, but just take that and recycle it and make something of your own out of it. I think
Sure.
that's what the best songwriters do. I mean, gosh, you listen to like John Prine. I mean, how many songs does he play with in just G, C, and D, or whatever? Like just and it's that he had just an amazing ability to tell stories, and it. I mean, they all sound like John Prine songs, but they damn sure don't sound like anybody else. You know,
Yeah.
they all sound like him. So, you know, there's a way. You know, just don't overthink it. Have fun with it, I guess would be my advice.
I
So,
think that's pretty solid advice. Anything exciting new coming out? Any gigs? Any new albums? New songs? Where's
you
life like
know,
that? Or what's going on in that part of the world for you?
I'm excited to work with Jake in the near future, and put out maybe just a couple of, you know, just maybe focus on singles rather than a whole record. But at the moment, I don't have too much. Like me and Jake, the last few years we talked about, yeah, we need to get together and record. One of these days, it's going to happen. I've been super busy with the farm, and we're in the process of getting into the cattle business too. So, you know, that's
That's its whole other
that
thing.
that's been its whole other thing. But like, I don't know if anyone listens to Core Blund, but I love Core Blund, and he has a song, "Everything's Better with Some Cows Around." So
Depends on the cows.
yeah. But yeah, so we've taken over the pasture here around our house, and so we're getting ready. I got a lot of fence work to do, and so that's been a lot of my focus has been on just farming and figuring out how to be a cowboy. So,
How to be a cowboy and how to keep it all afloat. Oh, well, you know, get Frog and decide to open a distillery.
there,
I don't know. Let me report back in a few years to tell you how that works. So, well, anything else you want to relay to the audience or tell folks?
I don't know. Come see us. Ely's great. If you haven't been out to the Wilson Valley, to John's place, it's amazing. Come hang out and grab a burger or something and have some drinks and listen to some good music.
Hey, I appreciate all the kind words, and we'll be happy to have anybody come join us that can and listen to great music with Wes Perryman. And this is, I didn't say it earlier. I think I said it in the intro, but June 4th is the next roundup. And that'll be somewhere around the 73rd or 74th Songwriter Roundup that we've
That's
had in the
impressive.
tasting room.
Impressive.
Not nearly as many as our friends down at Wahlberg. I don't know what Mike Mathis is on, like 200 and something or 300 and something. I know quite a few.
Yeah.
But every now and then I try and get down there and catch those, or what the
Yeah.
other place down in. I don't know if you ever play at Liberty Tree down in
Oh my God. Yeah.
Elgin?
Yeah. I love Liberty Tree. I used to play there a lot, like before COVID. Like we were always down there.
Mm-hmm.
And Kevin, he always asks me to come down and play, and every once in a while I'll say yes, but you know it's not that far from me, but it feels like a million miles away, especially driving home at night. So
Yeah, I would agree with that, and
yeah,
maybe that's just me getting older or something other. But it seemed like it's a long way home
yeah,
from Elgin
yeah.
at
But
1 in the
but
morning
yeah,
or whatever time.
I've had some great times and met some wonderful people down there. So yeah, we always love it down there. So.
Well, great. Well, Wes, thanks for sitting in the interview with me today and talking, and look forward to seeing you here in just under a week.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me, John.